Hey everybody, it's Isaac, and how are you guys doing? Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be doing some racing games and ranting and having fun, so if I sound like a weirdo, well, welcome to the Isaac and Friends channel. I hope you guys are having a great day today. I'm doing alright. Yesterday we had an interesting storm. It was very loud outside. All kinds of noise, that kind of stuff. So, hope you guys like the design I did to the Holden. I forgot what car model we've got, but hey. I also put a twin turbo in it. But, no, some interesting news today, too. Apparently, MatPat is sort of quitting YouTube. Not really. So, from what I understand about that, is he is basically stepping down from his channel. And so his channel's not going away. Hi, Moon Pie, you glorious furball. Meow. His channel's not going away. But it's getting to the point where MatPat is just not able to do the grind. And it's sad. It really is that even at that level, that content creators feel like they have to do all this grinding stuff. And hell, I'm not gonna lie, like, I do the grind myself. Hi, Moon Pie. You know, I'm always thinking about what's the next video I can make, what's the next thing I can do. And it really is kind of just shows the deterioration state of what YouTube is, you know? It went from a place where you could reasonably make a business doing media, doing videos and having fun, to something that's worse than a sweatshop. You know? That you have no guarantee that anything that you make is going to be seen. You have no guarantee that all your effort's going to mean anything anymore. It's just ridiculous. The website has become virtually unusable as a content creator. Now, thankfully, we do have things like Rumble, even though that's kind of come under a little bit of attack, because people have been trying to make claims that Rumble's falsifying their metrics and stuff, even though Rumble doesn't actually do the recording of their metrics. They actually let Google do that. So, if the metrics are wrong, then it's Google's fault. So, methinks that Google should fix that. But at the end of the day, like, it's ultimately a symptom of just stuff that's been going on just in general. Like, something I've noticed a lot, especially recently, is just companies doing things that are not to their best interests. That not only isn't going to make them money, but it's just like you're actively watching as their house is burning down, and you're like, this is fine, sips tea. And you're just going, what the hell are you doing? Because you can't even say it's capitalism at this point. I'm sorry. I'm a true blue capitalist, and I will straight up say, like, no, this isn't capitalism. This is somebody is not doing their job. But this is what basically what happens when you have people that get into these positions of authority who honestly have no business in being there. Like, I'm sorry, but the problem with a lot of these CEOs and a lot of executives in general, especially in recent years, is because they don't really have stakes in the company. They're glorified employees. And as far as they're concerned, they can basically run these companies into the ground and nothing's going to happen to them. They're going to have golden parachutes that allow them to basically just float off into the winds as they go to the Cayman Islands somewhere for all their offshore money. And you would think like people like, but what? When shouldn't our shareholders and stuff have a problem with that? They do. The problem is the mass number of shareholders are not the dudes in suits watching Wall Street. A good chunk of your shareholders are your grandma who's just investing, trying to, invest for her retirement. Or, grandma who's not paying attention to what's going on in their 401ks. Which that in itself is going to shoot them in the foot real quick. Not too long. One of the things, I'm going to be honest, one of the biggest things that I am kind of worried about is something that I kind of refer to as the boomer apocalypse. So basically, baby boomers are getting in their 65, 70-year-old bracket, okay? They're getting into retirement age, which means that they're going to be on fixed incomes. Basically, whatever money they make for that month is all they're getting. Whatever their retirement is, that's all they're going to have. Now, the problem here is a good number of boomers have nothing but debt. So let me explain. Everybody talks about, well, my parents were boomers and they worked schoolyard and they had enough money to get a house. And it's like, your parents didn't actually have the money to get that house. They were just living in a time period in which it was easier for them to get a loan to get a house. And the thing is like, people are like, having a house is building wealth. It's like, no, having a house is a good way to build debt. And building debt doesn't build your wealth, it builds the amount of expenses that you have every month. Building your wealth is having a business that produces more money than it's losing every single month from operation. Having wealth includes something like having an apartment complexes that not only have paid themselves off years ago, but continue to generate passive income well after the fact. That's generating wealth. Constantly piling on more debt that you will have to pay back, and if not you, your descendants, is not building wealth. You don't want that. The problem is, that's what a lot of boomers have, and even retirement agencies are saying, yeah, a lot of these boomers are doomed. Because a good chunk of them, especially, were expecting things like Social Security to be able to take care of them. The problem with Social Security is it's a welfare program. It's been known to be a welfare program since the 60s and 70s. Practically almost since its entire inception. But any attempt to reform it has always been met with aggression, violence, basically just an out-and-out denial of office to anybody who dares even thinks about trying to reform this system. Because people have basically been horribly misinformed with the idea of, well, I've been paying into it for 40 years. That darn well better have my money. Except the funny thing is, except the problem is like any other welfare program, any money that's not spent by the welfare program immediately gets spent in other products or in other programs from the government. So literally nothing gets saved. You're literally paying every single year. If you are a working person, you're not paying for your own retirement. You're paying for the retirement of those who have retired before you. And hell, the Social Security website straight up tells you this on their website. That they are a welfare program. That they are so happy that they're able to help so many retirees retire, but at the end of the day, they are a welfare program. And one of the biggest problems for the boomers is they are a bigger generation than literally every single gen after them combined. The baby boomers outnumber the Gen X, they outnumber millennials, they outnumber Zs, they outnumber Alpha. So all of these generations that are currently at work, who are currently in the workforce trying to earn money, they're not going to be able to pay for the boomers' retirements. And what's more terrifying, honestly, if you are a business that has been relying on the sheer amount of debt that the boomers have used in the past to basically pay for everything, is once the boomers go to being fixed income, they're going to have to cut their debt and their spending back by a lot. And the next generations are not going to be able to even match or come close to the amount of money that baby boomers borrowed on credit cards and debt. It's just not going to happen. Because these generations are just not earning the money that the boomers were. So you're going to end up with this basically apocalypse for a lot of these companies where they were hoping, they were banking on this continuation of spending, on people basically continuing to spend money that they didn't have, while ignoring the fact that A, it's actually gotten a lot harder to borrow money in the 21st century. It has actually gotten significantly more difficult because banks have had to protect themselves and new laws have had to be put into place. But at the end of the day, like it or not, these gens are just not getting enough money. They're just not making enough to be able to keep it up. So all of these companies, all of these bubbles that have been built up, they're gonna burst. No cap. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. Which is funny because when you have younger industries like being content creators or streamers and stuff like that that are being almost hounded to death by the very platforms that built them. Like YouTube itself, it baffles me as a YouTuber, and I talk a lot about them because literally, I mean, shoot, this is something that I want to do for my living to some extent, right? And I know some people in the older content is like, why don't you get a real job? I already have a real job. I already work 40 hours a week. But I also recognize this for what it is, right? This is, believe it or not, a whole new industry, just like Hollywood. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, the streamerverse, the YouTubers, the content creators, what we have created is a smaller, miniaturized version of Hollywood. We really are. We're a tinier version, decentralized version of what Hollywood was. You have various independent studios making various films of varying quality that are all selling spots and advertisements in their films to various companies for the sake of cash and money. They're able to produce relatively interestingly good quality product for not a whole lot. And there has been created around them an industry of supportive cast. Graphic designers who help create stream decals and logos, and various animators that help animate animations for storytelling YouTubers, as well as other things. You have editors who straight up edit the videos together for people, including special effects and various things like that. There is an entire industry that is essential for 100% a miniature Hollywood that is competing with Hollywood and winning, no less, which is ticking off Hollywood. Who knew? Granted, that's kind of how it goes because Hollywood has, quite honestly, become this depraved, nepotistic monstrosity that just chews people up and spits them out. But the thing is, like I said, once the boomers, basically, they go straight into retirement, there's not going to be enough money left, practically, for these companies to thrive on. So, if anything, they should be trying to boost these kind of new forms of industry, these various new ideas of people being able to make money. They should be trying to see if they can get people to make more money as much as they can. Because if these generations being smaller, you're going to need them. If not, since they genuinely can't get bigger, then you're going to have it where they can make more money. Easier and more capable than the generations before them. Even if that means having to try and capitalize on their skill sets. By the way, the smiley face on the side of the car is for our partners Dubby. Dubby Energy. Be better. They actually treat us pretty good on the channel, so I'm happy to happy to cheer them on and say hello, that kind of stuff. But, you know, you can't sit there and try and kill people's ability to make a livelihood. And again, you really don't want to be trying to kill making content at this point either. Like I said, a whole lot of other people's livelihoods are at this point are tied into it. It's a full-blown multi-billion-dollar industry. So, you know, trying to kill content creation in and of itself, especially for the platforms where this came from, like YouTube, trying to do it, it's basically self-deletion of their own company. It makes no sense for them to keep trying to do that. From a business perspective. Now, if they're trying to do like control and power and they're trying to play politics, perhaps, I mean, I guess I could kind of see it, but that's the problem is with playing politics in business, though, is that has a really big habit of kind of biting you in the butt. Because politics are fickle in and of itself. One moment you could be the political hero of business and everyone's cheering you on, and the next you're literally the devil. Ask Elon Musk how that works. Seriously, before Elon bought X, he was basically like the next star child. Everybody thought he was the most amazing person ever. And then the second he buys Twitter/X and says, no, we're not going to be the extra censorious type. We're not going to sit there and censor people for being goobers. Granted, that's not what they're actually trying to claim. They're like, no, we need to censor people for hate speech and stuff. Which is funny because they're trying to say, oh, X has more hate speech than ever before. Actual statistics shows there's actually less hate speech on X now than there ever was back when it was being run by the other guy. A discrepancy, I think there is. And the fact that they're even trying in some, I think I read something in Forbes, matter of fact, literally where Forbes was trying to run, I think it was an opinion piece or something like that, where they were trying to say investors are concerned about Musk's drug use, even though in the very same article, they're like, Musk is taking regular and random drug tests and he hasn't failed a single one in several times a month. Which one is it? Is he massively Mr. Clean because he's passing all of these drug tests, or is he Roxo the Clown? Figure one out. Because that's literally what it is. Basically, they're trying to say is using nostril sugar and all this stuff, and it's like, what? Like, for you're sitting there trying to claim that he's doing all this stuff, and then he's passing drug tests like it's nobody's business. I think one of these things doesn't belong here. Musk's character, especially considering he's kind of trying to be a competitor to YouTube and Facebook and several other companies. Now, to be fair, though, this isn't uncommon, okay? Like, they've done this stuff before, even way back when, like 60, 70 years ago. This is kind of standard crap, where they basically make up a whole bunch of stuff about a person, lie about their character to try and scare away investors. The problem that they're having now, though, is the internet itself. Because we have the internet, we can instantly sit there and question the narrative. We can instantly sit there and go, there's something wrong with this statement. To the point that literally it's getting to the point, essentially, the old term, honesty is the best policy, is becoming ever more so the truth. But every politician, every company out there is just absolutely hating it. Because they don't want to be honest. They don't want to tell us the truth about anything. But the problem is, because we now have basically the virtual ability to catch them in every single lie they've ever told almost instantly. They're trying to turn, it seems like they're just trying to shut us down and keep us from sharing information, which will just make us share information more. I think the thing that I said is basically they're being caught by grandma stealing cookies out of the cookie jar, so their goal has become let's stop stealing cookies out of the cookie jar because it's genuinely not helping us do anything, to instead let's blind grandma because how dare that old hag catch us stealing. That's basically what it's coming down to. Not the more reasonable approach of let's not be skeevy, stealing little buggers and just be honest with everyone. That's, again, it's one of the things that's kind of typical that people will talk about with YouTube, is like, oh, but YouTube says this. Is like, yeah, that's actually standard corpo tactics, though. I know, I'm using 2077 language. But it is standard corpo tactic. Deny the whole time you're doing it, because unless people have absolute solid evidence of what you're doing, you can sit there and deny it the whole time. The problem is, for these companies is it's becoming incredibly easy for us to figure out when they're lying. Because it's incredibly easy for us to gather data to throw back at their face and go, really? Is that why this and this and this is happening? Which they're kicking and screaming and hissing at us in mass. Like, how dare you discover that? How dare you use that against us? Like, what did you expect to happen? It's like, at the end of the day, over time, people are going to sit there and have better security measures. They're going to have a better means to document what's going on. And honestly, if you want to protect your business, you want to protect yourself, especially if you want to be a content creator full time, stuff like that, then you should document everything. You should be cautious about doing business with other people and making sure that you have everything in writing, making sure that you have documentation of what's going on and why. If for no other reason, because receipts are, important. Having receipts and being able to go, hey, this is a whole lot of horse wash. You guys were, saying this, and that. This dog don't hunt. What's wrong with you? Yes, you'll tick off the people who are doing it, but at the same time, do you care? And the answer really should be no. Especially if it's affecting your livelihood, right? If you're a content creator and a platform you're a creator for is messing with your ability to earn money, essentially messing with your livelihood, you should absolutely have every right to document what they're doing and sit there and go, hey, what you're doing is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. Why are you doing this? And demanding a reasonable explanation. And demanding them to fix it. And if they don't fix it, taking them to court. If anything, that's one of the things that a lot of content creators do have a problem with, is they don't know what their rights are as independent contractors, as essentially independent businesses. So you need to know what your legal protections are in that regard and what companies like YouTube can and cannot do to you in that respect. YouTube can make rules about what it is technically allowing on its platform, right? But in situations where it's like, but the other hand of that terms and service thing is the TOS is a contract between you and YouTube. So if YouTube says you're violating the TOS, therefore we're going to punish you for this, and you can prove that you haven't actually violated the TOS, and they will not work with you on it, you can actually take that to court and take it out of their hands and go, hey, I didn't violate their terms of service. Here's the evidence. Here's the proof that I didn't violate their terms of service. Their actions have actually cost me money. Which case, yes, if you are a big-time YouTuber, you are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month doing this, and YouTube demonetizes your whole channel out of nowhere and refuses to work with you on it, you are actually legally allowed to, if you have all the documentation that you need, you can legally take them to court and show a breach of contract and get damages from YouTube for that. And yes, I may not be a lawyer, but I do know a bit about business rights and things like that because I grew up in the world of business. My parents ran their own small business. My mother had degrees in business. And aside from religion and A couple other things, business and economics and how to run one and what your rights are, and not allowing yourself to be basically someone else's pinata is something that my mom tried to teach me. But at the end of the day, though, in that matter, yeah, documenting everything is important. That's why I would say document, document, document. Make sure you have your ducks in a row at all times if you can. Every bit of documentation that you have, especially if you're dealing with like a government agency like the IRS or something like that, you want copies of like your tax stuff, you want copies of everything going on, so you can have that ability to basically go, no, 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 here's the proof, here's my documents, all that stuff. Turns out it's a lot easier to sit there and deal with numbskulls that think they're better than you when you have the proof and the documentation to make them look like idiots. You know, but I know I got off track from the boomer thing. So basically, going back to the whole idea of the boomer apocalypse is kind of exactly that point, though. That as everything essentially changes, you're going to have situations where things are not going to survive as well. There we go. One incredibly beefed up Holden. Let's see what we can do. But it is going to end up happening, unfortunately, because unless you can make it to where X's, millennials, Z's, and alphas can earn the same kind of money that boomers were earning, or opening it up to where they can get the same kind of lines of credits, it's just not going to pan out. Ooh, now we have some engine roars. Whoa. This track is just all kinds of turny. Mm. Here we go. All right, let's see if we can. Gonna say, let's see if we can get that bonus here. But you know, that's gonna be one of the biggest issues. Is once the boomer generation basically retires out of the workforce, it's game over. And the mass majority of them are going to end up retiring. Or at least trying to. Is the thing is like they're gonna either try to expect my generation and the generations after them to try and take care of them, but we can barely afford food for ourselves, which is really gonna bite them in the arse. And part of it too, unfortunately for them, is they're trying to hope, it's why they're trying to hope that they can bring back a lot of the manufacturing jobs over to the US, but that's just not going to happen. The reason being, the only reason so much manufacturing was going on in the US was because the mass majority of Europe and other parts of the world had been bombed to death thanks to World War II. Now that the rest of the world has repaired and has had time to fix their stuff, there's no reason for them to hire or want to acquire stuff from the United States that way. For example, why would Germany manufacture German products in America when they can just manufacture it in Germany? At the end of the day, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to manufacture as much stuff as they can locally. And you can't blame them for that idea. You can't blame them for being like, hey, we're going to make most of our stuff at home. Right? It's like how a lot of stuff gets, electronics gets done in either Taiwan, China, or India. Well, the reason for that is because a lot of the stuff you need for those electronics are based out of those countries. So it's cheaper to just have them made there and then shipped than shipping all the components over to somewhere further away and have that be assembled here or wherever you're trying to assemble them. And hey, we got the bonus objective. But yeah, it does fascinate me a lot of times when people are like, but that's capitalism. Like, no, no, it's not. What we have is not capitalism in America. Sorry. Capitalism insinuates that they're trying to make as much money as possible. And the thing is, if you really want to make money, especially in the capitalist viewpoint, you have to have a large portion of people who have money. If the mass majority of the population are struggling just to have a roof over their head, put food on their table. They're not buying other products. They're not going to buy stuff that's not going to be conducive to them doing that. It would make no sense for them to do so. And expecting, nay, essentially requiring that people do things that are not to their benefit is in general a bad idea. Look, I understand that a lot of corporations expect us to be completely stupid, right? But the problem is that people are actually a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't bank on people being dumb. If anything, you should bank on something more of a happy medium, where you can expect, yes, that some people are going to be idiots, but it's fairly reasonable to believe that there's going to be more than enough people who are still smart enough to be able to go, that's not a good idea. And by the way, the more obvious it is that it's not to their benefit, the more likely people are going to turn against it. That's one of the major things. You have to convince people that this is to their benefit. It's very much getting harder for them to convince people what they're doing is to the benefit of others, other than their own selves. I'm going to have to do some tinkering. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my little rant and video here. I'll see you the next time. Stay safe, my friends.